So, and then if you think about it, right around those dates of 12/21, 2020, that's when basically the vaccine started coming out, right? Yeah, that's when it came out. So that's when the bifurcation truly began, and then it fully crystallized in 21. So that makes sense on everything that the Ascended Masters left us behind, because that's when we saw the people choose their paths. Which way are you going to go, right? Go ahead, Minnie Love, you can go.
I was just curious. I wonder how many, like, how long was the Atlantis cycle that Earth had, and how many times we would have, like, did we recycle then? You know, so for example, could we have come in as a certain priestess, and then did we die and then come back again to Atlantis? Was it that long enough? Or because I've seen, like,
Yes.
you know, I've seen myself as, say, you know, one particular being, and then, you know, I had a client. She had it was so beautiful. She was a divine mother, the client, and you know, she's a practitioner too, AuroRa. So she saw herself, like, we were under the ocean as well when Atlantis, you know, the fall happened, and she was a divine mother, and she said that she saw, like, baby mermaids, and you know, they were all dancing, and she said, "You're there, Minnie, you're a baby mermaid." You know, so she saw and there were 12 of them that she was watching over, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So when the fall happened, so that was another one, and then we've seen another one, and I've seen another life. So did we just parallelly coexist, like put fractals of ourselves all over
Yep.
Atlantis, right?
Yes. Yep.
Did
We
people
had
ever,
many.
like, die, ascend out, and then come back again saying,
I
here's
think
another
some could.
experience?
Some could have, yes. So it's just kind of like we breathed out. Did we talk about that Friday? I think we did, right? We just would decide. Oh no, I think I'm channeling that in the book maybe. But yes. So once we were ready, we would just kind of like, okay, I'm done with my path. I'm gonna breathe. Like if you just breathe out, you know, a beautiful ceremony, and then you were out. Um, so that was in the positive reigns of Atlantis, and there's many of us. So yeah, there was many versions of us living in different parts, like a mermaid, you're right. Maybe a council member, or maybe just a beautiful crystal farmer growing crystals. But then what happened is that one priest, or like what they explain is that the so what happened was exactly, thank you, great question, Minnie, is um what they're explaining right now. And they're showing me, hold on. Okay, so the people that didn't say become inverted, didn't become like dark sorcerers, and didn't become outrun by the archon virus, right? Those people couldn't reach the level, and they were one of the reasons why we recycled, right? But the people that didn't, that stayed in their hearts, no matter what obstacle, those people, it was a smaller percentage, right? So a smaller percentage of the whole population. Collectively, it was too many of them, so we had to fall down, right? But what happened when so the people that were able to stay organic fractalized, and they duplicated in infinite points of views. I think Magenta Pixie talked about this once, where the priests they fractalized into many and came back. So what we're saying is that is an example of the organic beings and what happens. So there's many of why there's so many of us spread throughout Earth. You know, hundreds, some of us thousands, many of us. In other words, the organic blueprint, that organic blueprint needed to keep birthing out, and we couldn't duplicate and fractalize the ones that were inverted, obviously, because we have plenty of those. So then we took the benevolence, and then those duplicated and came back, right? Does that make sense? Yeah, so that's pretty cool. To fill up the population, to bring more light in. That's why we needed more of those people to bring that light in, to shift us into how we are now. Go ahead, Michael.
I was just going to type it out. So what I remember was that it was like 100,000 years, 200,000 years
Mhm.
of Earth timeline, and that Lemuria or Atlantis was more like, just putting it in perspective, maybe 14,000 years
Yes, that's
until
right. That makes sense.
until some, you know, of course, until the inversion came. So we could have many, many lifetimes in Atlantis.
Many, 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 many.
Right. At 14,000 years.
Yes, because if you think about it, we had to split it into Atlantis. So what they're saying now, thank you, Michael, is that we had to split it into Atlantis. So everything was all Lemuria always. But when the inversion happened, we had to separate it. And Atlantis became its own embodiment. You understand? So that's why Lemuria and Atlantis are acting together at the same time, and why it became separate and two different names, because they split, right? Oh my God, that's amazing. Great questions, everyone.
That makes sense. If I may just
Yeah.
add here, I
Go
had a
ahead.
client, and this was in the beginning when, I was just beginning to practice. So at that time, I didn't have much understanding of this. So she saw herself in Lemuria, and she also saw herself in Atlantis at the same time. So she was being shown both her lives together. And then she talked about how Atlantis was falling, and the Lemurian her found a tunnel and escaped to inner Earth, and the Atlantis her sunk at the same time.
Yeah, so technically Atlantis was Lemuria. It was always Lemuria, but we had to split it, therefore it became its own embodiment, Atlantis. And that's where that name came in. Yes, yes. Wow, right? Wow. Well, such an interesting wow. I'm just getting tons of information. That's super cool. Thank you, Minnie and Michael and everyone here. Okay. And anything else you guys want to add about that? Or does anyone have any question directly to that? Yes, I'll go ahead, Heliosa. Or anything you guys want to add?
Hi, first, I've missed you. It's been quite a while since I couldn't come.
I've been here.
I've been so busy. And now kind of
Nice.
want to chill a little bit with summer and all, but I'm so happy to be here today. So I
Awesome.
have this question about Atlantis and Lemuria, and about the cycles of ascension, because if it was like more of a period of time where we were evolved spiritually, it would mean, if I understand it right, that every time we passed, we would ascend, right? Because we would have all the memories and all, everything needed to remember and then be fully who we were. So that would mean that every time we would come back, it will be a choice to come back and then ascend multiple times until the time where the descension of the earth would take place. And then we would know that, okay, so for this cycle, which is the cycle we're at, we might not remember. So I was just thinking what are the mechanics behind it? Because we would come back, ascend every time, multiple times, and somehow what we would need, like those memories, to kind of bring them back in this period we're actually living it for some reason. Would that possibly be a reason, or would we have other reasons? And did I get this right? I mean, about ascending multiple times and then coming back.
Yeah, so what we're talking about is the organic blueprint of Earth before the fall, right? So what was the organic cycle then, right? That's what you're talking about. Okay. Well, the way it was then is that what they're showing me now is that, so we were in higher dimensions. So say we were in the 7th and the 8th dimensions, and sometimes we want to come hang out in paradise, where we could be in a multitude of plants and alien races and all of that. It was a lot of fun, right? So then they would come and hang out and be in an embodiment of a it wasn't like the Matrix. This was when it was benevolent, so therefore it was like a crystalline, best thing we could call it is crystalline simulation. So then the consciousness of that being would come into the chrysalis, and there weren't matrix pods back then. They were crystal, like a butterfly, you know, when it goes in a chrysalis like that, but it was made out of crystals. And that's what it was like before it became those nasty matrix wire pods that, like the movie. So at that point, but I know that there is only 144,000 original pods. Now I don't know if they added more to that. Crystalline pods, original. So that's where you guys might hear a lot of that 144,000. So those were the original. So that's why it's really precious to be here. But I feel that they duplicated them out more from that. Okay. But let's see. So what would happen is, yeah, you would just leave and come back, and then you go back to your 8th dimension and just hang out and be like, oh, that was a lot of fun. Wow. Look, I just came back with a lot of experience. I met all these different beings, and I got to smell different flowers, and I got to swim in different waters. Oh my gosh. I want to get back in line to come back in. It's kind of like, you know, when you go on vacation, you wait in line to get on a cruise ship, you know? It was like that. It was so beautiful. So it was just
Because
something very organic, very natural.
yeah,
And it was your
and
choice, your choice.
yeah, and I exactly. I was trying to like figure out the if there would be like a special meaning for these choices to take place. For example, if from like a higher perspective, since there's no time, everything's going on at the same time. So at the same time, we're living Lemuria, Atlantis, and 3D. And if we decided to like come here to help as the volunteers, then it would have some kind of meaning to have those experiences in Lemuria and Atlantis connected to the fact that we're here now in this 3D. Because when we're talking about, for example, the priests and priestesses, if we're here in 3D and we're remembering those lives, so then we can tap into that kind of strength to live it now, then it would be kind of necessary to live all those times in those lives where we could ascend. And then it was all like you were saying, like together experience. It makes a lot of sense now. Together experiences. So with those experiences, we would be here, and then we would use those experiences to put them on service to other people. Okay, kind of having an epiphany here. This is very interesting.
Right?
This is very interesting. Thank you.
Very activating. Thank you, Heliosa, for bringing forth that content as well. Forward. It is yeah, so then if you think about it, right, like you can just like connect to how many versions of you in Lemuria, in the beginning Lemuria, and then Atlantis that did just graduate out. I'm sure it's been several times that we all did that. So we're all ascended masters, of course, but we ascended out. So if you bridge and connect to those other fractals, essences of you that ascended out, how powerful of a being can you become in the now, right? Because that was the whole point of that, the purpose of that, right? Because that's what you're saying. Super. Thank you. Awesome. Okay, beautiful. Does anyone else have questions on this topic specifically before? Yes, Alyssa, you can go before we move on from this topic.
Yeah, just quickly, like mine was more so about like how babies came in and stuff, and like how like different the birthing experience was. And I don't have a memory of that yet. I just have memories of how it was done and like on a different earth. And it just seemed like it was a whole community of women together, you know, helping with that versus how we do it now. And it's so much better.
That makes me want to cry because actually I was just talking to a practitioner today, and she went to an Atlantis life, I believe it was, and she said that they were birthing sun babies, and she said the reason why they were called sun babies is because they were source babies, just source babies. So imagine as a mother This is giving me angel bumps. Imagine as a mother. So now it's available, by the way, because of the bifurcation, trifurcation. We'll talk more about this in future, sacred information for sacred birthing. But so you can birth through the organic part of the blueprints of Earth because it's come online with the two worlds that we talk about. So you can birth children who are unburdened, who do not have karma like you did. You can birth children who don't carry inverted timelines if you worked on all of that before they were born or as you were carrying them. Isn't that beautiful?
Mhm.
Oh, that makes me want to cry. Imagine having these kinds of babies. So yes, so that's what it would be like. Unburdened children, unkarmically hindered children, children of source. And you were the bridge of that.
Because it seemed like somebody else mentioned this before, and then I had like experienced it. It seemed like there would be like spirit babies, like they would call them, like they'll like, they, I guess, check out the parents beforehand and see how. So like there's some that may have talked, that I've talked to, and it's like, oh, okay, cool. So it's like, it's funny that you can see all that happening, and that'd be really nice if that just keeps flowing for everybody. Yeah.
Yes, all mothers on earth are able to do this if they're a clear vessel, they don't have any inversions in them, and then they just work with their child every day within their womb and even before they come in, and really heal the womb before they come into that space. Now it is possible. Yes. Isn't that beautiful what we just saw among each other, like how we can just vibrate and come up with these downloads as our higher selves are talking to us, and then we are just bouncing off one another, and then that's the way we operated back then in the organic in Atlantis. It's just like right, it's just oh, it's beautiful. Thank you everyone for being here. I love you. With all that I am, thank you for supporting us through Patreon and for being here on these very special live Q&As, private Q&As. It is such an honor to be here with you once a month. Love you, honor you, and respect you. See you next time. Bye, loves.